Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to Universal Dharma. 1. Brahma Purana. This Purana contains 4 chapters as follows. 1.1. Lord Brahma. This chapter contains 9 sections. 1.1.1a Profile of Brahmaji. Appearance of Brahmaji. According to the scriptures, Brahmaji was born on the lotus that had arisen from the navel of eternal Omnipresent Lord Narayan Vishnu. During the period of deluge pralaya, all the creations was destroyed and the creatures that had gone into Maharloka, the fourth of the upper worlds according to the Puranas, take birth again on the earth as per their deeds. God who keeps an account of the innumerable deeds of those innumerable creatures and arrange for their incarnations is called Brahma. 1.1.2 Scriptural appearance of Brahmaji. Scriptures describe the appearance of Brahmaji thus. Chaturmukhdvadharaksakshasutrakamamandaluh. Hansardharavachamalamah. Meaning. He has 4 heads, holds Vedas, rosary, Yagyopavita, sacred thread, and Kamandalu bowl. Wears red kathas and rides a swan. He is none other than Brahmaji, grandfather of all of us. 1.1.3 heads of Brahmaji. Brahmaji is shown with 4 heads. Besides being the creator of the universe, Brahmaji is a deponent of the deeds of all the creatures as well, allotting the creatures various incarnations as per their deed is duty of Brahmaji. Hence the full knowledge of a creature's deed is an indispensable precondition before deciding an incarnation for it. Only then full justice could be assured for a creature. Hence to look around in all the directions, Brahmaji is shown with the 4 heads. 1.1.4 White beard of Brahmaji. Brahmaji is the great-grandfather of all of us. Hence his appearance must match his status. Since antiquity, in a single day of Brahmaji no one knows how many members of creatures take birth and die. The period since antiquity can be calculated according to astrology. Since Brahmaji has such an eternal existence, his appearance must correspond to his eternity as well, so that feeling of respect could naturally arise among the people for him. Hence, Lord Brahma is shown with a white beard. 1.1.5 Swan is a vehicle. Swan is a white bird. God has bestowed it with unique virtues. Virtues that are not to be found in any creature of the 84 lakh incarnations. Their virtue is Nira Shira Viveka, that is, if milk is mixed with water, a swan is capable of separating milk from water and taking it rejecting the water. It is an indication of Brahmaji that every creature deserves a full justice regarding his deeds, no matter how much entangled it might be. There should not be any ado in the justice. People must also learn from it that they should imbibe only the valuable part of a thing and discard the worthless. Only then they could be regarded as a doer of good deeds and thus receive honor in the society. Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to Universal Dharma. 1.1.6 Purpose of holding Vedas. Brahmaji is also shown as holding Vedas as one of his hands. Why? It is natural to be curious about it. Vedas are undoubtedly the most ancient scriptures in the word. Even the great deluge, Pralaya, could not destroy Vedas, for Almighty Brahma himself had taken incarnation to save Vedas during deluge. Hence Vedas have no beginning and no end. Besides, Vedas also remind Brahmaji of the previous Kalpa, the grand period that includes all the 4 yugas. Vedas also teach us that everything is destructible, only the truth cannot be destroyed. Hence in the carnation of destructible body, never forget the indestructible, eternal, Almighty Paramatma, because every other thing in the world is bound to be destroyed one day. 1.1.7 Rosary in second hand. The great-grandfather of all the creatures Lord Brahma teaches by his appearance that the human incarnation is not just for the mundane jobs. Instead, among the mundane jobs, human being must keep on remembering the Almighty Paramatma. Because without reciting the name of Almighty God, welfare of any human being is simply not possible. Hence, by the Rosary in second hand, Brahmaji teaches that, always keep on telling the name of Almighty God, for your welfare. It is therefore written also JapatasIddhih, JapatasIddhih, meaning, one gets perfection only in the name of Almighty God, there is no doubt in it. Hence, comprehending these things human being must keep on reciting and telling the name of omnipresent God, whether he is moving, or sitting, eating or drinking and sleeping or awakening. 1.1.8 Kamandalu Coconut Shell Bowl. JALAMEVJEEVANAM. That is, water is life. Water is the basic physical element that caused the whole creation to exist. The coconut shell bowl, Kamandalu, held by Brahmaji, also holds water, thus depicting the hassle-free existence and continuance of the whole creation. 1.1.9 Seat of the Lotus. Lotus is the seat for Lord Brahma. Lotus also adorns the hand of Lord Vishnu and is an essential item to worship Lord Shiva. Everyone knows that the lotus grows from the muck. Thus, it teaches that in spite of being born of the muck, be as pure as possible. Including humans, all creatures are born out of the muck called passion and illusion. They are unable to free themselves from these two. Thus the lotus seat of Brahmaji teaches that regardless of origin one must strive to be as free and pure as possible from the influences of one's origin. In other words, humans must obtain themselves from the passion and illusion of the world despite being surrounded by them. 1.2. Goddess Sarasvati. This chapter contains 3 sections. 1.2.1 Appearance of Sarasvati. Literally, Saraswati means Sara, knowledge, Sthanamyasyaastiti. Thus, Saraswati is the goddess who rules all kinds of knowledge. Without worshipping her, no one can be a learned person. Hence, followers of other religions also worship Saraswati, though the name and appearance may differ slightly. Appearance of Saraswati is thus described in the scriptures. Shuklam Bramhvichara Ra Parmadyamadvyapaneem. Veenapustakdharinimabhyadamjadvyandhakarapham. Haste Sphatimalikamvidadhipadmasanesamasthitham. Anyo Bhadraha Kritaveo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side. RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Van Tam Prameshvareem. Bhagwateem Buddy Pradayshardam. Meaning, wearer of the white clothes, giver of the power to reflect the essence of Brahma, supreme power, holder of Veena, lyre, book, beaded rosary, the benevolent goddess is seated on a lotus. I respectfully pray the goddess who gives us knowledge. 1.2.2 Significance of book and Veena, lyre. Noted sage Bhartrhari writes that without literature and music, a man is not more than an animal. Hence the book and Veena in the hands of Saraswati teach that if the humans wish to do away with their bruteness, knowledge of literature and music is must for them. Hence, Goddess Saraswati is shown with a book and Veena, the symbols of literature and music respectively. 1.2.3 Beaded Rosary. The ultimate goal of knowledge is salvation. Salvation is possible only with unification with God. And rosary is a means for unification with God. But why a rosary of white beads only? It is so because white beads depict spotless purity. Thus it teaches us to rise above the blemishes of passion, anger, greed, ego, lust, envy, enmity, etc. and make our mind as spotless as the beads. Similar teaching are given by the lotus seat and swan vehicle of the goddess Saraswati. 1.3. Lord Vishnu. This chapter contains 11 sections. 1.3.1 Appearance of Lord Vishnu. Worship of Lord Vishnu is extremely essential for those who wish to receive the supreme salvation. A common rule of worship is that the worshipper must essentially have the virtues of the worshipped. Hence, Lord Vishnu gives his virtues through physical appearance. 1.3.2 Reflection of scriptural appearance. Shantakambhujangashayam. Vishwadharam Gagan Sadrishammegham Lakshamikantanamayana Gamyam Van Vishnum Bhava Bhayaharam Sarva Lokaikanatatham. Meaning: I worship that Lord Vishnu who has a peaceful body, postures, who rests on Sheshanaga, the mighty serpent, cobra, who has a lotus in his navel, who is the base of the world, who is like the sky, who has a color like cloud, who is the Lord of Lakshmi, wealth, who has eyes like lotus, who is seen by yogis in their meditation, who is the remover of all the differences and who is the only Lord of all the three lokas worlds. I worship such Lord Vishnu. 1.3.3 Scientific depiction of Vishnu's appearance. It is a common principle the worshipper should be a deva, God, first and worship the God then. Let us reflect the appearance of Lord Vishnu in light of this principle. The first virtue of Lord Vishnu is his peaceful appearance. Hence his worshipper must also acquire peaceful appearance. This is also the need of the hour in the world that is presently full of conflicts, disputes, tensions and all that could pose a potential danger to the earth itself. Despite having all kinds of wealth and luxuries, people are devoid of peace. Hence, all the worshippers who want peace must first reflect the peaceful appearance of Lord Vishnu. Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side. RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. 1.3.4 Why does Lord Vishnu rest on Sheshanaga? The second virtue, resting on the Sheshanaga, must be considered as the sub-virtue of the peaceful appearance. Scriptures describe Sheshanaga as Kala also. Sheshanaga is supposed to be a highly poisonous snake. But Lord Vishnu is resting on him without fear or worries. It teaches us not to lose patience even while facing the Kala itself. Instead, one must strive to ride on it, only then can one remain in peaceful appearance. If the fear overpowers you, it may shatter your peace. The worshippers who want salvation are being indicated to be peaceful in every circumstances. 1.3.5 Why is lotus in the navel? The third virtue of Lord Vishnu is that he bears a lotus on his navel, hence he is also known as Padmanabham. From the lotus rises Lord Brahma. Brahma has only royal virtues, Rayoguna. Thus to remain in peaceful form, Lord Vishnu has discarded all the royal virtues through his navel. Similarly, he has made the snake, which has Tamoguna, virtue of darkness, his seat. Thus only Sadoguna, virtue of the truth, remains with him, and God became Shantakaram, acquired a peaceful form. Hence, if a worshipper wishes to be in peaceful form, he must first discard the virtues of royalty and darkness. 1.3.6 Why does Vishnu stay in the sea of milk? Before attempting to solve the problems, let us first give a thought to the oceans also. All the oceans, as we know, are huge bodies of saline water. How is then the sea of milk? A couplet of Chanakyaniti explains it thus. Ka chinta mam jivane yadi harivishvammbharogeyete. No chedarbhajanayanayastanyamkathmnyet. Ityalochymuhurmuyadupatellakshmipate TVATPADAMSHUJASEVANENSATAMKALOMAYANEEYATE. Meaning: if God Hari Vishnu is known as Vishvambhar, feeder of the world, I need not worry for anything in the world. If he were not there, where the milk would come from in the breast of a mother before child's birth. So God filled the breast of a new mother with complete food that is milk. It is clear from the above example that Lord Vishnu assumes different forms just to feed all the creatures in the world. Of these different forms of the God, the milk is one. According to another principle of scriptures, God is present in every grain. Hence he is also present in the milk also. It is also the supreme duty of the humankind to maintain the original pure form of the milk, because the milk is prone to damage quickly. Similarly, all these desirous of salvation must follow Vaishnava religion, otherwise any deviation in it may damage all of their penance. 1.3.7 Reason for holding the wheel. The famous Sudarshana chakra, wheel, is whirling on the finger of Lord Vishnu. Through this wheel, God teaches the humankind that the cycle of the universe is whirling at his will. If anybody tries to go against his will, i.e., wheel, or gives up religion and begins to behave irreligiously, I will whirl him like the wheel or punish him with the wheel. 1.3.8 Reason for holding the conch. White color and sound are the main virtues of the conch. Through the color of the conch, God Vishnu teaches us to follow the path of the truth. The sound is like a warning call that is if path of truth is not followed, the violator will be challenged and punished. Thus, either by fear of by any other thing, Om must follow the path of truth. 1.3.9 Purpose of Kaustubhamani. Kaustuba is the best jewel among all the gems. One who bears it must be gentle, knowledgeable, virtuous, etc. Thus, bearing Kaustubhamani, God preaches the common people that if they wish to develop all these virtues in Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. They will have to move towards this gem once advanced, they will feel the eternal light in life and desired unification with God and ultimate salvation. 1.3.10 Why does Lord Vishnu hold a mace? Mace is a weapon that shows and dares for the physical strength. It was used by the fighters to demonstrate their strength. Among all the ancient weapons, mace was the main. Its application is profusely seen in the epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata by physically powerful and strong characters like Hanumana and Bhima. Thus with the mace, God warns antisocial elements that if they try to violate the sanctity of religion and torment his devotees, he will punish them. Tulsidas too writes about the reasons for incarnation of God. Jab jab hohidharama ki hani. Harhinathsajjana kai peera. God takes various incarnations to protect his devotees. 1.3.11 Why is Garuda, eagle, the vehicle of Vishnu? Garuda, eagle, is said to be the king of the birds. It is the fairest of bird. Thus God is assuring his devotees to be fearless, because if any calamity befell them, he will reach them in no time. 1.4. Goddess Lakshmi. This chapter contains 3 sections. 1.4.1 Why Goddess Lakshmi presses the feet of God. Goddess Lakshmi presents an example of an ideal spouse before the world. The supreme duty of a woman is described in the service of her husband. Second aspect of the message is for the people who want to get rich, that if they want the wealth, they must develop a devotion for the feet of Narayana, for Lakshmi, goddess of wealth, is to be found there and nowhere else. 1.4.2 Reason for liquidity of Lakshmi. The better half of Lord Vishnu can never be freakish, because Sadoguna is the main virtue of Lord Vishnu. In the proximity of God whose main virtue is Sadoguna, no one can remain freakish. But the material wealth, that is gold and silver, have mobility as their main virtue. Thus the rich people who have these wealths may be freakish, but not Lakshmi, the beloved of God Vishnu. 1.4.3 Why is the owl the vehicle of Lakshmi? Owl is the vehicle of goddess Lakshmi. An owl can't see in the day, hence, Lakshmi visits the house of those devotees who only worship her, on her vehicle owl. And she visits the home of those devotees who worship Lord Vishnu first and then her, with Vishnu riding his vehicle Garuda. It also implies that at places where black money is main, Lakshmi rides an owl. Such a wealth can't be put in the service of nation, people, religion, etc., or in any worthy task, instead it is squandered in abhorrent deeds. Since owl is a bird that sees in the darkness alone, and darkness symbolizes ignorance. Because of ignorance, money is generated in wrong ways and spent in wrong deeds. Thus owl is a symbol of black money and misdeeds. Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. 2. Padma Purana. This Purana contains 5 chapters as follows. Second among the 18 Puranas, Padma Purana contains 5 parts: Shrishtakand, Bhumakand, Swarkand, Patakhand and Uttarkhand. 1. Shrishtakand contains an explanation of metaphysical knowledge in a dialogue style between Bhishma and the sage Pulastya. It contains a description of Pushkar Tirth. Surprisingly, this part ridicules the worship of the planets Grahas. 2. Bhumakand has a description of the earth, besides the tales of the kings like Prithu, Nahush, Yayati, Prabhrati and the sages like Shiva Varma, Suvrata and Chivan. For its description of the earth and archaic matter, this part is often regarded as the geography and the history of a period. 3. Swargakand describes the sequence of creation first and then the glory of the holy places as well as the geographical expansion of India along with her mountains, rivers and the people. 4. Patakhand. Sutaji narrates the tales related to the life and plays of Lord Rama in an assembly of the sages. This part also contains a description about the life and plays of Lord Krishna. 5. Uttarkhand contains a discussion about the metaphysical knowledge of religion presented in a dialogue style between Lord Shiva and Parvati. This part also contains 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu and 100 names of Lord Rama. 2.1. Shrishtakand. This chapter contains 16 sections. Having revealed the contents of all the Puranas to his son Yugrashrava, sage Lomaharshan instructed him to go to Naimisharanya and spread it among the sages doing penance over there. There is an interesting tale how this sacrosanct forest of Naimish derived its name once. The sages sought Lord Vishnu's help in finding a suitable place where they could perform their religious activities unhindered. Lord Vishnu released his chakra and instructed them to follow it. This chakra had many circumferences, Nemi, and all of you can commence your penance at the place where one of them gets detached from the chakra, said Lord Vishnu. The sages followed the chakra as per the instruction of Lord Vishnu. Once of the circumferences of chakra got detached and fell at a place called Gangavarta. In course of time this particular place was famous as Naimish, because the term Nemi in Sanskrit means circumference. When Yugrashrava, who was popularly known as Sutji, reached Naimisharanya, all the sages received him with enlighten all the sages on the divine tales of Padma Puran. Sutji replied, Padma Puran consists of 5 sections and 55,000 shlokas. The names of these sections are Shrishti Kand, Bhumi Kand, Swarg Kand, Patal Kand and Uttam Kand. The tales of Padma Puran praise the glory of Lord Vishnu. These tales were narrated to Lord Brahma by Lord Vishnu himself, who in turn propagated them in this world through various sages. 2.1.1 The beginning of creation. The sages requested Sutji to narrate about the incident when sage Pulastya had met Bhishma. Sutji replied, Bhishma was doing penance at a place called Gangadwar. Being pleased by his austere penance, Lord Brahma, Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Instructed Pulastya to go to Gangadwar and bless Bhishma. After reaching there, Pulastya told Bhishma that Lord Brahma was pleased by his penance. Ask any boon you wish for, said Pulastya. Bhishma thanked his good fortune of getting a chance to meet sage Pulastya. He requested Pulastya to reveal how Lord Brahma had created the world. Pulastya replied, during the initial phase of his creation, Lord Brahma created the Mahatattva first of all. After that he created the 3 types of ego from the Mahatattva, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. These 3 types of ego are the origins of all the 5 sense organs, organs of action and all the 5 basic elements, space, water, fire, air and earth. An enormous egg came into existence with the permutation and combination of these 5 basic elements. Within this egg exists the whole universe including the mountains, islands, oceans, planets, deities, demons and the human beings. The layers of water, fire, air, space and darkness envelop this enormous egg. These elements are once again covered by the Mahatattva, which in turn is enveloped by the Prakriti, nature. Lord Vishnu himself does creation in the form of Lord Brahma and also takes various incarnations to protect the mankind. At the end of the Kalpa, it is only he who annihilates in the form of Rudra. After the end of Kalpa, he takes rest on the back of Sheshnag for the full period of deluge. 2.1.2 Lord Brahma's lifespan and the chronological order of the eras. Pulastya says, Lord Brahma, the embodiment of Lord Vishnu, has a lifespan of 100 years. His lifespan is also called Par, and half of its period is known as Parartha. 1. Kashtha. consists of 15 Nimesha, while a Kala consists of 30 feet Kashtas. A Muhurta consists of 30 Kalas. The periods of 30 Muhurtas are equal to 1 day and night of the human beings. A month of this world is equivalent to 30 days and nights. 6 months make an Ayan, and a year consists of 2 Ayans. These 2 Ayans are also known by 2 other names, Dakshinayan and Uttarayan. Dakshinayan is the night of the deities, whereas Uttarayan is their day. 4 yugas are equivalent to 12,000 years of the deities, which occur in a cyclic order: Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. The periods of these yugas are as follows: Satya Yuga equals 4,000 years. Treta Yuga equals 3,000 years. Dwapar Yuga equals 2,000 years. Kali Yuga equals 1,000 years. Total equals 10,000 years. Each yuga is followed by the hibernation periods of Sandhya and Sandhyansh, which are as follows: Sandhya Sandhyansh. Satya Yuga 400-400. Treta Yuga 300-300. Dwapar Yuga 200-200. Kali Yuga 100,000-100. Total 1,000 years. 1,000 years. 4 yuga are collectively known as Chaturyuga. A Brahma's day consists of 1,000 such Chaturyugas. Altogether, 14 Manu appear during this whole period of 1,000 Chaturgas, or in other words, a day of Lord Brahma. Each Manvantar is named after a Manu and is equivalent to little more than 71 Chaturyugas. It also has its own Indra, Saptarishis and other deities. This way, a Manvantar is also equivalent to 52,000 years of the deities or divine years. Going by the standard of the years of this world, a Manvantar is equivalent to 30, 67, 20,000 years. On the basis of the years of this world, a Brahma's day is equivalent to 30, 67, 20,000 x 14 equals 4, 29, 40, 80,000 years. This is the period after which a Brahma's day is over and a deluge takes place, when all the 3 worlds becomes devoid of life due to unbearable heat. Lord Brahma then takes rest for the same period, 4, 29, 40, 80,000 years, which is his night. After the night is over, Lord Brahma again commences his creation. So, this process continues for the whole period of Brahma's lifespan, i.e. 100 years. Bhishma requested sage Pulastya to describe how Lord Brahma created life in the beginning of the present Kalpa. Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Pulastya replied, at the end of the previous Kalpa, when Lord Brahma awakened from his sleep, he found the whole earth submerged in water. He meditated on Lord Vishnu, who took the incarnation of Vara, and retrieved the earth and established it in its original position. Lord Brahma then created all the 4 worlds, Burloka, Bhuvarloka, Swargloka and Maharloka, and divided the earth into 7 islands. First of all, Lord Brahma created the Mahatattva. After that he created the Tanmatras, Indriyas, sense organs, the immovable things like mountains, rivers, animals, deities, demons, human beings, etc. 2.1.3 The 4 prominent castes. On being asked by Bhishma about the origin of the 4 prominent castes, sage Pulastya said, Lord Brahma created the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas from his mouth and chest respectively. Similarly, Vaishyas and Shudras manifested from Lord Brahma's thigh and feet respectively. Lord Brahma had created his Manasputras with the objective of increasing the population, and their names were Bhrigu, Pula, Kratu, Angira, Marichi, Daksha, Atri and Vashist. But all of them were free from worldly desires and extremely virtuous. Seeing his effort go in vain, Lord Brahma became furious, as a result of which Rudra manifested from his forehead. Half of Rudra's body resembled like a male while the remaining half appeared like a female. Lord Brahma instructed Rudra to detach the female form from his body and commence copulative creation. Following his advice, Rudra detached the female part of his body and created 11 male entities. Similarly, he created various female entities from the female part of his body. This way, the first human pair Manu and Shatarupa came into existence. In course of time 4 children were born to them: Priyavrata, Udanpad, Prasuti and Akuti. Prasuti was married to Daksha Prajapati, while Akuti became the wife of Ruchi Prajapati. Prasuti gave birth to 24 daughters: Shraddha, Laxmi, Driti, Pushti, Tushti, Meta, Kriya, Buddhi, Lajja, Vapu, Shanti, Kirti, Kiyati, Sati, Sambhuti, Sm Riti, Preeti, Kashama, Santati, Ansuya, Urja, Swaha and Swada. Out of them, the former 13 were the wives of Dharma and the rest were married to various sages like Brigu, Shiv, Marichi, Angira, myself Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Atri, Vashist Agni, etc. Shraddha gave birth to Kam, Laxmi to Darpa, Driti to Nayam, Tushti to Santosh, Pushti to Loba, Meta to Shrut, Kriya to Dand, Nay and Vinay, Buddhi to Bod, Lajja to Vinay, Vapu to Vyavasay, Shanti to Kashama, Siddhi to Suk and Kirti gave birth to Yash. All of them were the sons of Dharma. Kam had a son named Harsh from his wife Nandi. Bhrigu's wife Kiyati gave birth to a daughter named Laxmi, the consort of Lord Vishnu. Lord Rudra accepted Sati, the daughter of Daksha Prajapati, as his wife. Hinsa was the wife of Adharma and gave birth to Anrit and Nikriti. Anrit had 2 sons, Maya and Narak, while Nikriti had 2 daughters, Maya and Vedana. Maya married Maya while Vedana became the wife of Narak. Maya had a son named Maridyu, the lord of death, and Vedana gave birth to Duck. 5 children were born to Maridyu: Vyadi, Hara, Shak, Trishna and Krota. All of them were celibates and had no progeny. 2.1.4 The manifestations of goddess Laxmi. Bhishma expressed his desire to know about the manifestation of goddess Laxmi. Pulastya replied, once, after being defeated by the demons, the deities went to Lord Vishnu and sought his help. Lord Vishnu instructed them to collect all the medicinal herbs, and put them in the Kshirsagar, so that after the churning of the ocean ambrosia could be retrieved. Lord Vishnu also advised them to use the Mandar mountain as a churner and the serpent Sheshnag as a rope for churning the ocean. The deities then reached an agreement with the demons according to which both the groups were supposed to unitedly churn the ocean. The great Mandar mountain was uprooted and placed on the back of the tortoise, the embodiment of Lord Vishnu. Sheshnag coiled around that mountain and both the ends were held by the demons and the deities respectively. The deities intelligently chose the tail end, while the demons in their foolishness chose the mouth end. The venom spilled by Sheshnag destroyed the power and strength of the demons. When the process of churning began, the first thing to emerge from the sea bed was Kamdanu, the holy cow. The deities claimed the ownership of this. Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Divine cow. Subsequently, Varuni, intoxicating drink, emerged from the sea bed, which was claimed by the ignorant demons. During the process of ocean churning, various kinds of things emerged out from the ocean Parajat, 60 crore apsaras, the moon and the Kalkat poison, which were distributed among the demons and the deities. Lord Mahadev drank the Kalkat when he saw that there was no taker for it. The churning of ocean also resulted into the manifestation of ambrosia pot, Uchaishrava, horse, and Aravat, elephant. Ultimately, goddess Laxmi manifested herself, seated on a lotus. The deities eulogized her by chanting the mantras of Sri Sukta. The deities were desirous of having goddess Laxmi on their side, so were the demons, but Lord Brahma instructed Vishnu to accept her as his consort. The demons became furious and snatched the ambrosia pot from the hands of sage Dhanvantari. Lord Vishnu then disguised himself as the most enchanting woman and fooled the demons into giving back the ambrosia pot. Lord Vishnu gave the pot to the deities who became immortal after drinking ambrosia. A tremendous battle was fought between the demons and the deities. But, the demons were defeated in this battle and fled to the netherworld to protect their lives. The deities eulogized Lord Vishnu and returned to heaven. 2.1.5 Sati gives up her life. On being inquired by Bhishma about the reason why Sati gave up her life, sage Pulastya narrated the following tale. Once, Daksha Prajapati had organized a grand yagya in which he had invited everybody except Lord Shiva. This yagya was presided over by 4 prominent sages: Vashist, Angika, Vrahaspati and Narad. Sati went to attend the yagya despite Lord Shiva's reluctance to send her. After reaching there, she asked Daksha about the reason why he had not invited Lord Shiva. Daksha said, "Your husband is unworthy of being in the company of other deities, because of his abhorrent appearance. He smears ashes on his body and wanders through the cremation grounds. In the name of clothes, your husband puts on tiger's skin. A garland of skulls keep on hanging down his neck. All species of serpents coil around his body. Do you think he is eligible to sit in the company of the deities? Your husband had brought great shame on me, and this is the reason why I did not invite him." Sati could no more listen to her husband's criticism and gave up her life by jumping into the oblation fire. When the news of Sati's death reached Lord Shiva, he became extremely furious and sent his Ganas to avenge her death. The Ganas went and created havoc at the oblation site. After the death of Sati, Lord Shiva became a recluse and lost all interest in his life. His mind was preoccupied by nothing else but the thoughts of her beloved. One day, sage Narad informed Lord Shiva about Sati's rebirth as the daughter of Himvan and Meena. Lord Shiva became extremely pleased by this good news. Eventually, he reunited with her eternal consort Parvati. 2.1.6 The origin of deities, demons and serpents. Bhishma requested sage Pulastya to explain how different entities like the deities, demons and serpents came into being. Pulastya replied, having failed in his repeated attempts of increasing population by the means of Sankalpa, Daksha Prajapati was left with no option but to take the help of copulative creation. He begot 60 daughters from his wife named Varini. In course of time 10 of them were married to Dharma, whose names were Arundhati, Vasu, Jaimi, Lamba, Banu, Marudvati, Sankalpa, Maharta, Sadhya and Vishwa. Vishwa gave birth to Vishwadeva, while Sadhya was the mother of Sadhya. Marudvati gave birth to Marudvan. Vasu had 8 sons who became famous as the Vasus, yourself Bhishma, Dhruv, Soma, Dar, Anil, Anil, Pratyush and Prabhas. Banu had a son by the same name, i.e. Banu. Maharta begot deities, who were the lords of auspicious moments. Lamba gave birth to Ghosh, while Jaimi had a daughter named Nagvathi. Arundhati became the mother of all the creatures of this world. As far as the offspring of 8 Vasus are concerned, you, Bhishma, have 4 sons, Shant, Vedant, Sam and Munababru. Dhruv had a son named Kal, while Soma was the father of Varcha. Dar had 2 sons, Dravan and Havyava. Anil had 3 sons, Pran, Raman and Shashir. Anil also had 3 sons, Shak, Upshik and Nigamaya. Pratyush had a son named Deval, who later on became a famous sage. Prabhas was the father of Prajapati Vishwakarma, the architect of the deities. The names of the 11 Rudras are Ajikpad, Ahirbudnya, Virapakash, Ravat, Har, Bahurup. Anyo Badraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Trayambak, Savitra, Jayant, Pinaki and Aparajit. All of them are said to be the lords of the Ganas and have altogether 84 crore progenies known as the Rudraganas. Sage Kashyap had 13 wives: Aditi, Diti, Danu, Arishta, Sursa, Sarabi, Vinta, Tamra, Kratavasha, Ira, Kadru, Kasa and Muni. Kashyap had 2 sons from Diti, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Hiranyakashipu had 4 sons: Prahlad, Anulad, Sanshlad and Lad. Prahlad also had 4 sons. One of them was Virashan. Virashan was the father of Bali. Vanasar, who had 1,000 arms, was the eldest son of Bali. Hiranyaksha had 4 sons, who themselves had 27 crore sons and grandsons in all. Kashyap had begotten 100 sons from Danu, among whom Viprachiti was the most powerful. Viprachiti had 14 sons from Sinhika, Sainhikya, Rahu, Kanza, Shank, Nala, Vadapi, Ilwal, Namuchi, Kasrima, Anjan, Narak, Kalnab, Parmanu, Kalpavirya and Danuvanshavivardhan. Kashyap also had 6 daughters from Tamra, Shuki, Shayini, Basi, Gridi, Sugridi and Shuchi. All 6 of them gave birth to various species of birds. Shuki was the mother of parrots and owls. Shayini gave birth to hawks while Basi was the mother of ospreys, a large fish-eating birds. Gridi gave birth to Vultures, and Sugriti was the mother of pigeons. Shuchi was the mother of cranes, swans, and other similar aquatic birds. Vanita was the mother of Garuda and Arun, supreme among birds. Arun was the father of Sampati and Jatayu. Sursa was the mother of the serpents and had given birth to 1,000 snakes. Similarly, Kadru gave birth to 1,000 cobras. Sarabi, one of the 13 wives of Kashyap, had given birth to cows, buffaloes, as well as beautiful women. Muni was the mother of the celestial damsels, Apsaras. Arishta gave birth to Kinnars and Gandharvas. Ira was the mother of various vegetation like grass, trees, creepers, and bushes. Kasa gave birth to crore of Rakshasas, monsters, and Yakshas. Kashyap had also begotten 49 Maruganas from Didi. 2.1.7 The origin of Maruganas. Bhishma requested sage Pulastya to describe how all the Maruganas came into existence. Pulastya replied, all the sons and grandsons of Didi had perished in the battle fought between the deities and demons. Didi, the mother of Daitya's demons, wanted to take revenge, so she started doing a penance at the bank of river Saraswati, which lasted for 100 years. Being pleased by her austere penance, sage Kashyap arrived and expressed his desire to bless her with a boon. Didi wanted a mighty son who could kill Indra. Sage Kashyap then implanted his sperms in Diti's womb and instructed her to remain there, where she had been doing penance, for 100 years. He also instructed her on various do's and don'ts which a pregnant woman is expected to observe. Diti agreed to follow his instructions. Meanwhile, Indra got wind of her pregnancy and became scared. He wanted to destroy the fetus at any cost, so he arrived at the place where Diti was staying. He had disguised himself to avoid being recognized by Diti. He engaged himself in her servitude, waiting for an opportune moment to destroy the fetus. This way, 99 years had passed and only 3 days were remaining, after which Diti was expected to give birth to a son. As the inevitable day approached nearer, Indra started becoming restless. One day, Diti was very tired and fell down asleep. Her hair was untied and her head had stooped down while she was sleeping, just opposite to the instructions Kashyap had given to her. Finding the moment opportune, Indra entered into Diti's womb and cut the fetus into 7 pieces with his vajra. The 7 fragments of fetus instantaneously got transformed into 7 infants and started wailing. Indra became furious and once again he attacked them with his vajra and severed them into 7 pieces each. But to Indra's sheer amazement, there were 49 infants, all wailing loudly. He tried to stop them from crying by shouting, Marad, don't cry, but to no avail. Indra realized that the infants had attained immortality on account of the Purnamasi Vrata, which Diti had devoutly observed during the course of her penance. Indra named the infants as Maruganas and blessed them. He then begged for Diti's forgiveness and took her along with the Maruganas to heaven. The Maruganas, despite being born in the clans of demons, never associated with them and Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Hence were revered even by the deities. Bhishma expressed his curiosity to know about the detailed description of all the 14 Manvantars. Pulastya said, the first Manvantar was called Swayambhuva, named after Swayambhuva Manu. Yamya was the prominent deity of this Manvantar. Marichi and other 6 prominent sages were the Saptarishis of this Manvantar. Swayambhuva Manu had 10 sons: Agnaya, Agnabahu, Vibhu, Savan, Jyotishman, Dayutaman, Havya, Meda, Medhadathi, and Vasu. The second Manvantar was named after Swarachish, Manu. Swarachish, Manu had 4 sons: Nab, Nabasya, Prasriti, and Bhavan. Tushit was the prominent deity of this second Manvantar. Dattatreya, Atri, Chiyavan, Stanba, Pran, Kashyap, and Vrahaspati were the Saptarishis of this Manvantar. The third Manvantar was called Autumn and derived its name from Autami Manu, who had 10 sons: Isha, Urj, Tanuj, Shuchi, Shukra, Madhu, Madhav, Nabasya, Nab, and Saha. Bhanusangyak was the prominent deity of this Manvantar. Sage Urj and other 6 sages were the Saptarishis then. The fourth Manvantar was called Tamas, named after Tamas Manu, who also had 10 sons like his predecessor. The names of his sons were Akalmash, Tapadhanva, Tapamul, Tapadan, Taporishi. Tapasya, Sutapasya, Parantap, Tapavagi and Tapoyogi. Kavi, Prithu, Agni, Akapi, Kapi, Janya and Dhamma were the Saptarishis of this Manvantar, while Satyagana was the prominent deity. The fifth Manvantar was called Ravat, named after Ravat Manu, who had 10 sons as well, Varun, Tatvadarshi, Chaitaman, Havyap, Kavi, Mukt, Narutsuk, Sattva, Vimo and Prakashik, Bhutraja and Prakrita were the 2 prominent deities of this Manvantar, and the names of the Saptarishis were Devabahu, Subahu, Parjanya, Somap, Muni, Hiranyaroma and Saptashva. Next arrived the 6th Manvantar, Chakshush. This Manvantar derived its name from Chakshush Manu, who had 10 sons and among whom Ruru was the most prominent one. Lek, Ribu, Prithagbut, Varamul and Divo were the prominent deities of this Manvantar. The names of Saptarishis were Brigu, Sudama, Viraj, Vishnu, Narad, Vivaswan and Abhimanyu. The present Manvantar, which is the 7th in order, is called Vavaswat. The Saptarishis of this Manvantar are Atri, Vashist, Kashyap, Gautam, Yogi, Bhardwaj, Vishwamitra and Jamdagni. The 8th Manvantar will be called Savarnya and will be named after Savarni Manu. Savarni Manu will have 10 sons: Driti, Varian, Yavasu, Suvarna, Drishti, Charishnu, Adya, Samadhi, Vasu and Shukra. The Saptarishis of this Manvantar will be Ashwatthama, Rishyashringa, Kaushikya, Galav, Shadanand, Kashyap and Parashuram. The 9th Manvantar will be named after Ruchi, Manu and will be called Rauchya Manvantar. Ruchi Manu will have a son named Rauchya. The 10th Manvantar will be called Bhatya and will derive its name from Bhatya Manu, son of Bhuti. The 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th Manvantars will be named after Marusavarni, Ribu, Vitdhamma and Vishkvasan Manus respectively. All these 14 Manus successively rule this world for the total period of 1000 Chataryugas. At the end of Kalpa each of them unite with Lord Brahma. 2.1.8 King Prithu and the Surya dynasty. Bhishma inquired sage Pulastya about the mighty King Prithu upon whom the earth was named as Prithvi. Sage Pulastya replied, Anga Prajapati was the descendant of Swayambhuva Manu and Sunitha was his wife. In course of time, Sunitha gave birth to a son, who was named Ven. After growing up, Ven Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Turned out to be an extremely irreligious person and used to spend his time committing all sorts of immoral deeds. The sages tried to bring him to the virtuous path but to no avail. They became furious and cursed Ven, as the result of which he died. The sages then churned his dead body, which resulted into the manifestation of a mean caste called Mulcha. They kept on churning his body and in the process, an extremely virtuous entity manifested from the right hand of Ven. He held various weapons like mace, bow and arrows in his hands. He was none other than Prithu, the embodiment of Lord Vishnu. After being crowned as a king, Prithu was saddened to see the prevalence of immorality throughout the length and breadth of earth. The lack of virtuosity and religiousness among the inhabitants of earth made him extremely furious. He decided to destroy the earth. The earth became scared and fled in the guise of a cow. Prithu chased her wherever she went. At last, the cow halted at a place as she had got tired. To save her life, the cow agreed to fulfill all the desires of Prithu. Prithu then milked the cow, which later on got transformed into cereals. Similarly, all the deities, ancestors and other human beings milked the cow and received numerous invaluable things. Prithu was a just king. Peace and prosperity prevailed during his reign. People were religious and free from any kind of sorrow. The earth is named after him as Prithvi. Sage Pulastya then went on to give a detailed description of Surya dynasty. Vivaswan, Surya, had 3 queens: Sanga, Ragi and Prabha. Ragi had a son named Ravat while Sangya was the mother of Vavaswat, Manu, Yama and Yamuna. Once, Sanga, being unable to bear the extreme radiance of Surya, created a superficial entity from her body and instructed her to act as Surya's wife in her absence. The name of this superficial woman was Chaya, who had 2 sons and 2 daughters from Surya. The names of her sons were Savarna, Manu and Shanishchar, while the names of her daughters were Tapti and Vishti. Shanishchar became immortal as a planet while Yamuna and Tapti became rivers. Vavaswat Manu had 10 sons among whom Ila was the eldest. After appointing Ila as his successor, Vavaswat, Manu went to do penance. Once, Ila transformed into a woman after trespassing a forest where Lord Shiva and Parvati were enjoying privacy. It was Lord Shiva's curse that any male who ventured into that forbidden forest would become a woman. Later on, Bud became enchanted by Ila's beauty and married her. Meanwhile, when Ila did not return to his kingdom, his brother Ikshvaku went in search of him. Ikshvaku reached the outskirts of the same forest but did not enter it. He managed to please Shiva by his devotion. When Lord Shiva appeared, Ikshvaku requested him to make Ila a man once again. Shiva told him that it was impossible but assured him by saying, "If you perform an Ashwamedha yagya and donate all the virtue thus acquired to me, then your brother will be able to live as a man for 1 month. But, after 1 month he will again become a woman. Thus, his form will keep on changing every alternate months." Meanwhile Ila gave birth to 4 sons among whom Utkal, Gaya and Haridashwa were prominent. This way, Ila became the source from which the lineage of Chandra sprouted. Ikshvaku ruled over Madhya Desh. He had 100 sons, all of whom ruled the territories situated north of Meru mountain. Ikshvaku also had 114 more sons, who ruled over the areas situated south of Meru. Kakustha was Ikshvaku's grandson. Kakustha had a son named Suyodhan. Some other prominent kings coming from this lineage were Prithu, Vrihadashva, Kawalashva, Purukutsu, Dharmasetu, Muchukund, Tridhanva, Tradaran, Satyavrat and Satyarath. The most truthful king Harishchandra was Satyarath's son and Rohit was his son. Famous kings like Raghu, Dilip, Asia, Durgabahu and Prajapati Dasharath were the descendants of Ikshvaku. Dasharath had 4 sons among whom Sri Ram was the eldest and who had killed the demon king Ravana. Ram had 2 sons, Lav and Kush. 2.1.9 Bashkali, the demon king. Bhishma requested sage Pulastya to reveal why Lord Vishnu had to take incarnation as Vaman. Sage Pulastya replied, "Once, during Satyayuga, the demons had defeated the deities and driven them out from their abode, heaven. The mighty demon, Bashkali was their leader. He had become immortal on account of a boon received from Lord Brahma. Indra went to Lord Brahma and narrated, Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. The awful tale of the deities. Lord Brahma assured him that Lord Vishnu would certainly help in this matter. Lord Brahma contemplated on Lord Vishnu who appeared in a very short time. When Lord Vishnu came to know about the deities' pitiable condition, he promised them that very soon Bashkali's wings would be clipped. Lord Vishnu said, "Very soon, I will take incarnation as Vaman. Indra will have to come along with me and demand a piece of land measured by my 3 steps. I shall then reveal my giant form and send him to the Pataloka after making him bereft of his kingdom." In course of time Lord Vishnu manifested as Vaman from Aditi's womb. His manifestation was simultaneously marked by various auspicious signs. The air became full of fragrance, the deities started rejoicing, the trees started shedding flowers on their own and all the desires of living beings were fulfilled. Lord Vaman then went to Bashkali's palace accompanied by Indra. Both of them marveled at the grandness of Bashkali's city, which was surrounded by a high boundary wall. Bashkali was a very virtuous and benevolent king. He was truthful and well versed in all the scripture. His subject lived in prosperity and enjoyed a long life. When the demons saw Indra coming with a dwarf, they informed Bashkali. Bashkali instructed the demons to bring both the guests with due respect. Bashkali treated his guests with all honor and asked Indra about the reason for his sudden arrival. Indra praised Bashkali's benevolence and said, "The short Brahmin accompanying me is desirous of a piece of land measured by his 3 steps." Bashkali was amused at this ridiculous demand and requested Vaman to ask for anything he wished. But Vaman wanted nothing more than a small piece of land measured by his 3 steps. Shukrakarya Bashkali's guru smelled something fishy and warned him, but he was not to listen. Bashkali then requested Vaman to go ahead and measure the land by his 3 steps. Suddenly, Lord Vaman transformed his physique into a giant size. His first step reached the Surya Loka and his second step touched the Dhruva Loka. He hit the top of the universe with his third step, as a result of which water poured down. The water got collected and came to be known as Vaishnavi River. But the land had still not been measured, and hence Lord Vaman reminded Bashkali of his vow, and ultimately the helpless Bashkali surrendered to the will of Lord Vaman and sought his refuge. Lord Vaman blessed him and sent him to Pataloka. 2.1.10 Sri Ram kills Shambhak. After killing the demons King Ravan, Sri Ram returned to Ayodhya. Many sages had arrived there to bless him on the occasion of his crowning ceremony. Sage Vashist was one of them. As Sri Ram was conversing with the sages, a Brahmin arrived there with the corpse of his son and wailed, "O son! Your death is certainly due to some flaw of Sri Ram. Now, your mother and I have decided to give up our lives as there is no point in living." Sri Ram's heart was filled with grief and he asked Sage Vashist as to how the Brahmin could be helped. Sage Vashist revealed to Sri Ram that the Brahmin's son had died a premature death because of Shambhak. Vashist said, "Shambhak is a Shudra by birth, but he is doing an austere penance. Shudras are not entitled to do penance in all the 3 yugas, except the Kaliyug. So, only his death can bring back the Brahmin's son alive." Sri Ram instructed both his younger brothers, Laxman and Bharat, to look after the state's affairs in his absence and went in search of Shambhak. Boarded on his Pushpak Viman, Sri Ram saw a man doing penance at the shore of a reservoir. He landed his Pushpak Viman and went near that man. He introduced himself and inquired about the man's identity. Sri Ram asked, "Why are you doing such an austere penance? Who are you?" Without moving, the man replied that he was a Shudra named Shambhak. He said, "I am desirous of attaining to Devaloka and hence I am doing this penance." Sri Ram took out his sword and severed Shambhak's head. All the deities hailed Sri Ram and the Brahman's child became alive once again. 2.1.11 Manifestation of Ganesh and Kartikeya. Once, before taking her bath, Goddess Parvati anointed unguent on her body and while removing it created a human form from the accumulated dross. The head of this human form resembled an elephant. Parvati then playfully immersed the human form into river Ganga. But, to her sheer amazement, the human form became alive and of enormous size. She accepted him as her son and he, Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side. RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Was none other than elephant-headed deity Ganesh. Once, Lord Shiva became so deeply fascinated by her consort Parvati he did not come out from his palace for 1,000 years. The deities became worried and sent Agni to find out the reason. Agni disguised himself as a parrot and entered the palace where Shiva was enjoying privacy with Parvati. Meanwhile, Parvati went at the bank of a reservoir to quench her thirst. After reaching there, she saw 6 divine women, matrikas, carrying water in the leaves of lotus flowers. As Parvati was thirsty, she requested them to give some water. The matrikas agreed on the condition that a son born to her, Parvati, should also have to be accepted as their son. Parvati gave her consent. The matrikas gave Parvati water to drink. Hardly had Parvati finished drinking water than a divine child emerged out from her womb. The child possessed various weapons like trident, Shakti, and a noose in his hands. He was none other than Kartikeya. The deities appointed Kartikeya as the commander of their army. During that time, a mighty demon named Tarakasur used to torment the deities. Kartikeya killed that demon on the request of deities. 2.1.12 An ideal Brahman and the significance of the Gayatri mantra. Describing about the qualities of an ideal Brahman, sage Pulastya said, "Once, Narad had asked Lord Brahma as to who was worthy of receiving Vishnu's blessings. Lord Brahma had told Narad that Lord Vishnu showered his blessings on those who engaged themselves in the service of Brahmins. A Brahmin should be virtuous and well versed in all the scriptures. A Brahmin who does not observe the rituals as mentioned in the Vedas brings disgrace to his ancestors. An ideal Brahmin is respectful towards his parents, teachers, and treats his guests with due honor. He never aspires for women other than his wife and chants the sacred Gayatri mantra every day. Goddess Gayatri is said to have manifested in the lineage of Sankhyayan. She is of fair complexion and fire is the symbolical expression of her mouth. Lord Brahma dwells on her forehead, Lord Vishnu in her heart, and Lord Rudra has his abode in her braided hair. The Gayatri mantra consists of 24 letters and each of them is related with a specific deity. There is a mention of Gayatri mantra, which consists of 18 letters. It begins with the word Agni and ends with Swaha. The mantra is as follows: Om Agnervakpunsiajurdedinjushtasomam Piba. Swaha. A person who chants the mantra for 100 times becomes liberated from gravest of sin. The various deities related with the 24 letters of Gayatri mantra are as under deity: first letter Agni, second letter Vayu, third letter Surya, fourth letter Akash, fifth letter Yamraj, sixth letter Varun, seventh letter Vrahaspati, eighth letter Parjanya, ninth letter Indra, 10th letter Gandharva, 11th letter Pusha, 12th letter Mitra. Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side. RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. 13th letter Twashta, 14th letter Vasu, 15th letter Maruganas, 16th letter Soma, 17th letter Angira, 18th letter Vishwadeva, 19th letter Ashwini Kumar, 20th letter Prajapati, 21st letter all the deities, 22nd letter Rudra, 23rd letter Brahma, 24th letter Vishnu. A devotee should then perform the ritual of Nayas by mentally establishing different words of the Gayatri mantra in the various parts of his body as given below. Om Bhuh, in the heart. Om Bhuvah, in the head. Om Swah, in the top knot, shika. Om Tatsaviturarenyam, in the whole body. Om Bhargodevasyamadhimahi, in both the eyes. Om Dhiyo yo na prachodayat, in both the hands. Regular chanting of Gayatri mantra bestows similar virtues attained by the study of all the four Vedas. A Brahmin who does not know Gayatri mantra is considered to be worse than a Shudra. Anybody who chants Gayatri mantra attains salvation. Body is given below -2.1.13. A Brahman's livelihood. Describing how a Brahmin should earn his livelihood, Lord Brahma said to Narad, alms, which a Brahmin gets without making any demand for it, is called vrita. Anchavriti is even better than vriti, and it means collecting food grain which are scattered in places like fields, granary, marketplace, etc. A Brahmin should accept the dakshina that his host gives him after the completion of yagya ceremony. He should engage himself in educational activities. He can also earn his livelihood by engaging himself in other auspicious activities. If the circumstances do not permit a Brahmin to earn his livelihood by any of the above-mentioned means, then he may opt for the occupation of a Kshatriya. In such a case, he should endeavor to have mastery both over the Vedas as well as different weaponry. Battle should be his last option. When the very existence of religiousness is at stake, he should wage a war against irreligious people and to protect the religion. In an emergency situation, a Brahmin can also choose the occupation of a Vaishya and earn his livelihood by doing business or agriculture. But, while earning his livelihood by doing agriculture, he should in no circumstances abandon his own duties of a Brahmin. He should be honest while doing business and never try to exploit the customers. 2.1.14 Narodam, the Brahmin. Describing about the importance of 5 virtuous deeds, Pulastya said to Bhishma, the 5 supreme virtuous deeds are obedience to parents, faithfulness towards husband, equanimity, not having enmity towards friends, and devotion towards Lord Vishnu. By pleasing his father, one pleases all the deities. Mother is superior even to all the places of pilgrimage combined together. Pulastya then narrated the same tale to Bhishma, which Lord Brahma had once told some prominent sages. Once, there lived a famous Brahmin called Narodam. He had acquired divine powers on account of his austere penance, but unfortunately he never treated his parents with respect. After taking his daily bath, Narottam hanged his wet clothes in the open sky without any support, and they used to dry without falling down on the earth. This special power had made him very arrogant. One day, a crane flying in the sky passed dung on his face, which made him very furious. Narottam cursed the crane as the result of Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwadaha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to universal Dharma. Which it was burnt to death. His special power vanished due to the sin acquired by killing an innocent bird. Now, no longer his clothes remained in suspended position in the sky. Narottam became very sad. Suddenly he heard a heavenly voice instructing him to see a Chandala, named Mukh. His discourses would be beneficial for you, said the heavenly voice. Narottam went in search of Mukh, the Chandal, and found him in the servitude of his parents. Mukh was a great devotee of his parents, and his total devotion towards his parents had blessed him with an extraordinary power. His house used to hang in the air without any support. Narottam was deeply amazed at this wonderful sight. He wanted to know how Mukh had acquired such divine powers. But Mukh requested him to wait, which made Narottam very angry. Mukh then told Narottam, I can talk to you only after attending to my parents. I am not that crane which was charred to death by your curse. If you don't have time, then go and meet that faithful wife. She will answer your questions. Narottam did not know where that faithful wife lived, so he stood there wondering what to do next. Suddenly Lord Vishnu emerged from Mukh's house disguised as a Brahmin. He took Narottam to the faithful wife's house. All along the way Lord Vishnu preached Narottam on the qualities of a chaste woman. As both of them were about to reach that chaste woman's house, Lord Vishnu disappeared, leaving Narottam all alone. Narottam requested the woman to enlighten him on the finer points of virtuosity. But the woman was busy attending her husband and requested him to wait. Narottam threatened to curse her, to which the woman replied, I am not that crane whom you had cursed. If you are in a hurry, then you can go and meet Dharma Tuladar. He is an honest businessman and is capable of answering your queries. Lord Vishnu once again appeared from that woman's house disguised as a Brahmin. Narottam asked him as to how were both Mukh and faithful wife aware of the incident in which the crane was charred to death. Lord Vishnu told him that both of them had acquired this special power by the virtue of their respective religiousness. Lord Vishnu and Narottam proceeded towards the place where Dharmtuladar did his business transactions. As they were about to reach the place, Lord Vishnu disappeared once again, leaving Narottam all alone. Narottam saw Dharmtuladar busy in his dealings with total honesty. He requested him to reveal as to what made the wet clothes to hang in the air without any support. Dharmtuladar requested him to wait, but Narottam was in a hurry to get answer to his questions. Dharmtuladar told Narottam, please wait for some time, as I am busy doing my business transactions. If you don't have time, then you can go and meet a Drohik, who is fully capable of giving answer to your questions. Lord Vishnu once again accompanied him disguised as a Brahmin. When both of them were about to reach the place where a Drohik used to live, Lord Vishnu disappeared and Narottam was left all by himself, once again. Narottam requested a Drohik to preach on the essence of religiousness. A Drohik was a man of impeccable conduct and had full control over the sensual urges. He advised Narottam to meet the supreme devotee of Lord Vishnu, who lived nearby. A Drohik said, you would get answers to all your questions. He will reveal to you the reason that made wet clothes to hang in air without any support. Narottam then proceeded towards the place where the supreme devotee of Lord Vishnu lived. Lord Vishnu once again accompanied him in the guise of a Brahmin. After reaching there, Narottam expressed his desire of seeing Lord Vishnu. The supreme devotee took him to a temple situated inside the house premise. Narottam was amazed to see the same Brahmin, who had been accompanying him all along the way, sighting on a lotus flower. He realized that the Brahmin was Lord Vishnu himself. Lord Vishnu blessed him and said, be respectful towards your parents, if you want to attain to my abode. I dwell in the houses of people who are virtuous, truthful, possessed equanimity, and who have full control over their passion. This is why you found me present at the homes of Chandal, Tuladar and Adrohik. Narottam realized his mistake and decided to be in the servitude of his parents for the rest of his life. Anyo Bhadraha Kritavayo Yantu Vishwataha, let noble thoughts come from every side, RG Veda. Vishva Dharma Ki Jai. Victory to Universal Dharma. 2.1.15 The significance of Rudraksha, Amla and Tulsi. Once, while describing about the importance of Rudraksha to the sages, Vyas said, one who wears a Rudraksha rosary is supreme among all human beings. The mere sight of such a holy man absolves people of their sin. A Rudraksha bead bears features of a linga and yoni on its surface. One should not wear a Rudraksha on which above-mentioned features are absent. Similarly, two-joint beads should never be worn. All the mantras become doubly powerful when chanted with the help of Rudraksha rosary. During Satya Yuga, there lived a mighty demon named Tripurasur. He had conquered the deities and was capable of moving in the space. The deities sought help of Lord Shiva, who killed Tripurasur by the sight of his third eye. In the process, few drops of sweat, emanating from Shiva's body fell down on the earth. These sweat drops got transformed into a large Rudrakshatri. Amla is a very nutritious fruit and great religious significance has been attached to it. Amla fruit is very dear to Lord Vishnu and its use on the auspicious day of Ekadashi brings unmatched virtue. A person who regularly eats amla enjoys a long life. The following tale adequately describes the religious importance of amla. Once upon a time, a Chandala went into the forest for hunting. He hunted many deer and birds. Feeling hungry, he saw an amla tree and climbed up the tree. This way he satiated his hunger by eating sweet amla fruits. Unfortunately, while he was climbing down the tree, he fell down and died. When the attendants of Yamaraj arrived to take back his soul, they could not do so even after repeated attempts. The attendants of Yamaraj became very surprised and went to the sages for clarification. The sages revealed to the attendants that they could not go near the Chandala's dead body, because he had eaten amla just before his death. Such is the glory of amla. Once Kartikeya asked Lord Shiva about the holiest tree, which was capable of giving salvation. Lord Shiva replied, the Tulsi plant is supreme among all the vegetations. She is very dear to Lord Vishnu and fulfills all the desires of a man. Lord Krishna dwells near the place where there is a Tulsi plant. Spirits and ghosts never dare to venture near the Tulsi plant. If a man attaches a Tulsi leaf to his shika at the time of his death, he is liberated from all his sins. One who worships Lord Vishnu by offering Tulsi leaves attains salvation. 2.1.16 The importance of Surya's worship. Once, while describing about the importance of Surya's worship to Vaishampayan, sage Vyas narrated the following tale. There lived a king named Bhadrashwar. He ruled over Madhyadesh. Once his left hand was infected with leprosy. Bhadrashwar, fearing the prospect of dreadful leprosy spreading to his whole body, decided to end his life. He expressed his desire to the head priest. The head priest cautioned Bhadrashwar that if he went ahead with his decision, then the whole kingdom would be destroyed. He said, you will be cured of leprosy, if you worship Lord Surya. The head priest then told the king about the appropriate rituals of Surya worship. King Bhadrashwar began his austerities and worshipped Lord Surya by chanting mantras and offering articles like naivdya, fruits, ardhya, akshat etc. to the deity. King Bhadrashwar was cured of his leprosy within a year by the virtue of his deep devotion towards Lord Surya.